Today, we are going to take a journey into the incredible, layered history of Gujarat in India. But here's the thing, we're not just looking at old stones and ruins. We're going to see how thousands of years of history are still alive, still breathing in the way people live and build their communities today. All right, so here's our roadmap. We'll start way back, at the very foundations of civilization. Then we'll trace the echoes of great empires. After that, we're going to zero in on the historic heart of Ahmedabad city. And from there, dive deep into its amazing neighborhoods, the Poles. And finally, we'll tackle the big question: how do you keep all this history alive today? To really get Gujarat, you have to think on an epic time scale. We're not talking about just a few centuries. We're talking about a story that starts hundreds of thousands of years ago, laying the groundwork for one of the world's very first great civilizations.
Just look at this timeline. The human story here stretches way, way back into the old Stone Age. But the real game changer, the moment things get really interesting, is around 2500 BCE. That's when the Harappan civilization, you might also know it as the Indus Valley civilization, shows up on the scene.
And this is where it gets absolutely fascinating. What you're looking at are the remains of Dholavira, a huge Harappan city. And this was no simple village, okay? This was a total masterpiece of urban planning, built by people who had a deep, deep understanding of their environment.
So what was their secret sauce? Well, one of their greatest skills was water management. Think about it. In a really dry region, being able to build these incredibly sophisticated reservoirs and well systems, that was literally the key to survival. It's what let their cities boom for centuries.
And check out this layout. Dholavira wasn't just a random collection of buildings. No way. It was meticulously organized. You had a fortified citadel, probably for the rulers, a middle town, and a lower town. This physical map tells us a story of a complex, organized society that planned everything. Okay, so after the Harappans, Gujarat becomes this amazing crossroads of empires. And each new power that came in didn't just erase what was there before. Nope. They added a new layer, creating this incredibly rich cultural tapestry. And to really understand this idea of layered history, we don't need to look at a dozen different places. We can focus on just one, a man-made lake called Sudarshan Lake. This was a piece of infrastructure so important that it became a project that lasted centuries. This just illustrates the point perfectly. So the Mauryan Empire built it. Then the Indo-Greeks came along and repaired it. Then the Sakas showed up and repaired it again. And finally, the Guptas conquered the region. So for over 500 years, you had these competing empires who all saw how vital this one water source was. It's like a physical record of both conquest and continuity, all in one place.
Now, let's jump forward in time and really narrow our focus. We're going to go from these ancient empires to one specific place where all this history isn't stuck in a museum. It is the very fabric of daily life. We're talking about the incredible walled city of Ahmedabad. This quote from the source material just nails it. The walled city isn't just a grid of streets. It's better to think of it like a living organism. The streets are like stems, and they connect these dense, traditional neighborhoods that have been fostering this powerful sense of community for hundreds of years. And if we zoom in even closer, right down to the cellular level of this living city, we find its most unique, most defining feature, a social and architectural unit called the pole. Now, the crucial thing to understand is that a pole is so much more than just a street or a dead-end alley. It's a self-contained little world, a traditional neighborhood. It's a dense cluster of homes designed specifically to create a super tight-knit community, which was often originally based around a shared job or background. And the architecture itself is literally designed to make people interact. It all starts at the front door with the otlo, this raised porch that's the perfect spot for sitting and chatting with your neighbors. That then leads into the chowk, the shared public square that's the heart of the pole, where everyone gathers for festivals. And right in that square, you'll often find a chabutaro, this beautiful bird feeder that kind of bakes this idea of compassion right into the community's core. You can see that exact principle right here in this plan. That central open space, the chowk, it's the heart of the whole design. Everything is oriented toward it, pulling life and activity right into that shared center. And get this design wasn't just social, it was brilliant, sustainable engineering. You have a central courtyard for light and air. The super narrow streets create shade and a natural cooling effect. Many houses even had underground tanks to collect rainwater, which also helped cool the home from below. This is climate-responsive design from centuries before anyone was even using that term. But, and this is the big but, this leads us to the critical question.
What happens when this ancient community-focused way of life smacks right into the pressures of the modern world?
And this slide just lays out the conflict perfectly. On one side, you've got the pole, a design all about community, shared spaces, and a sense of belonging. And on the other, you have the forces of modern urbanization, homes that face inward, the commercialization of every square inch, traffic, and bit by bit, the loss of that social fabric that made the poles so special in the first place. If you want to see that change boiled down to a single number, here it is. In just under 40 years, the number of businesses inside the walled city more than doubled. That means traditional homes are being turned into shops and warehouses, completely changing these neighborhoods from places where people live to places where people work. So what we're left with is this huge challenge facing not just Ahmedabad, but so many historic cities. The pole represents something really special, a sustainable, deeply human way of living. But as the world speeds up, the very things that made it work are under threat. And it all boils down to this one massive question. How does a city preserve its soul while still building its future? It's a balancing act with no easy answers.